Okay, so I'm here at Mothership with Derrick, the owner, and we are we just finished up an awesome demo. We played like every game. We had live streaming, some of you may have seen it, of not only the Bears tournament, but a game of Bloodsuckers too. So very, very cool. So Derrick, tell us a little about the store. How long have you guys been in business? You're relatively new here.
Yeah, we've been in business since August of 2012. It was my wife's idea. Laurie, she's the other co-owner.
Nice.
She looked at me one day and said, "Why don't we open a game store?" And I said, yes.
That sounds good.
That sounds great. So we've been in business for almost a year now. It's going really well. We have a really loyal group of customers who are heckling us from the window
Yes,
right now.
yes.
And they have formed a really tight-knit community around here.
Yep.
And so we do Magic 4 nights a week. We play games like Castle Panic or Wizard's Tower expansion suite and things like that as regularly as possible.
Right.
And we have generally a different event going on every night of the week here.
Nice.
So the store stays full, it stays vibrant, and there's a different crowd coming in every night.
That is awesome. And tonight was a Tuesday, and that is your board game night, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
Awesome. So if you guys want to play some board games and you're up here, it's awesome. By the way, what's your address? So
we're at 2121 West Palmer Lane in Austin, Texas, right next to Pokey Joe's Barbecue. So you can come here and get really full, and then you can come over and play some Magic.
Exactly. Barbecue and games.
Any board games you want to play.
Yeah. So I have to ask, Mothership is so sci-fi, I'm immediately in love with it. But tell me how you came up with the name. Why, of all the things you could pick, Mothership?
Well, my wife came up with it, actually.
Nice.
That too, like most of the
Why are we
stores her
interviewing
idea.
him?
I know, she's just doing other work right now. But she came up with it as one of several names. The first one she wanted to name it was a pun, and I was putting my foot down, not having a pun. She wanted to call it, for the record, Nerds of Paradise.
Ooh!
And I said no. So she said, fine, Mothership, and I thought that was great, because it kind of gives the sci-fi feel. Also, we have a big StarCraft 2 crowd that plays on the LAN here.
Nice.
And so it's kind of a reference to some of the units.
Yeah, the Protoss guys. Right, okay, nice, very good. Great. Yeah. So, speaking of that, I don't know, Emery, if you want to get a quick shot, but we have a huge LAN set. What do you have, like 20?
There are 20 high-end custom gaming computers here. We had the specs, and we just had them built custom for us. And there are 50 to 70 games on each computer. Wow. It's $5 an hour. Yeah, so we do lots of things like League of Legends or StarCraft 2, and we do organized events and tournaments and things like that.
That is sweet. And I don't know if you can see, but there are very comfy chairs in each one too. The headphones, fancy headset things. Yep. This is amazing. Now, this is something that we see now and then as we travel. How's this working out for you? It's a very different kind of like market you're dealing with because it's essentially rental.
Yeah, this is a rental space, but the table space is free. Right. And the reason that we think this works really well is that there's a lot of crossover between people who like playing tabletop games and like playing video games.
Yes.
And it's kind of counterintuitive that things like card games or board games would go with video games to a lot of folks, but we just saw a first-hand experience. We went to Major League Gaming in Dallas in 2012, and we saw a group of people in the bleachers watching this pro gaming event that between games they would all leave and go play card games and board games on the side.
Nice.
And it was like clockwork. It happened 3 or 4 times when we were sitting there watching it. So we thought, there's definitely a market here.
Yeah.
So, and you'll see a lot of crossover. For example, there'll be people who play things like Catan on the tabletops that are into Civ 5 on the computers. Right. People that play StarCraft into like Magic. There's some interesting kind of crossover
nice.
There.
Yeah. Well, and the Penny Arcade Expo, the big PAX one they do.
Sure.
I mean, that's the hybrid. We've been to that a couple times to check it
Absolutely.
out. It's really neat to the crossover. That's all the people like, I like games. What do I have to click or touch to make it happen?
Absolutely. And there's some people that will play tabletop versions of video games or video game versions of tabletop games. They just, or things that are related to each other.
That is awesome. Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so your wife had this idea for a store. Let me ask you this. Austin is a huge gaming city. There's a ton of gamers, but there's a pretty good amount of stores. What made you guys want to take that risk and say, we want to get in the middle of all this too?
Well, in Austin, first of all, we have huge growth here. This city is growing faster than even the businesses that are offering services can keep up. Yeah. And so we thought this is an area of Austin, particularly, we're on Palmer Lane between I-35 and Mopac. Yeah. And it's one of the really growing, almost suburban areas of the city. And it's also kind of a major corridor between 2 of the big tech companies. There's Apple this direction and Dell that direction. And so we're on people's way home from work.
Nice.
And those tend to be crowds from our market research that do quite a bit of gaming.
Nice.
And so we thought what we needed here was a place that catered to a more grown-up crowd. You'll notice that most of the customers here were 25 or older.
Yeah.
And it's people on their way home who just stop and want to do something, or people that have already come home from work and had dinner and that are looking for something to do.
Right.
And so
people to do it with.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of great gaming stores here in town, and we have really good relationships with everybody because we tend to stay off each other's toes.
Yeah.
And so everybody kind of plays nice and has their own specialty. So.
Yeah. I was going to say, you guys are definitely offering something different. The land setup, I don't know anybody else in Austin that does that.
No, I think we're the only one that combines the two. Definitely.
Yeah, and nicely too. There's a real distinct feel to both spaces, but they're usable, and it's not like they're in the way.
Yep.
The other thing is, I don't see you guys running a lot of like Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh.
No, and that tends to be because of what we thought our target customer was.
Right.
I mean, Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon tend to target younger audiences, but from our research for the area and for the products we were interested in offering as our core products, we found that 25 to 35 is really the sweet spot.
Nice.
And so things like Magic or tabletop games, like Castle Panic actually goes over really well in here because the crowd likes to play cooperatively a lot.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And they get their fill of head-to-head games all the time with other games. But these are games that they can sit around, and they're really good beer and pretzels type games too.
Yeah.
And so you just see people sitting here during the demos tonight just having a blast goofing off with their friends. And that's something that a slightly older audience compared to like a Yu-Gi-Oh or Pokemon crowd really get into.
Nice, nice. And the other thing I noticed that's pretty unusual is I see no like Warhammer or War Machine stuff. You don't do a lot of tabletop minis.
Yeah, and so we kind of took a dive on those things for one thing because they're really expensive to get into for a new store, but also because we want people to be able to use the space as also a social space, and sometimes those games can really just dominate the area.
They need a lot of acreage.
So. Yeah, and if you're playing on space like that, you don't have much room to just sit and have a Coke and talk to your friends. You know? So there's a couple of things about it.
No, it's an excellent decision. You've definitely crafted a feel and an atmosphere, and it's working. We very much got the vibe that your customers are loyal. They love it here. You guys are just going to grow and grow, I think. So
yeah, we're having a blast with it. Actually.
Good. Well, what you're doing is definitely working. So thank you again for having us.
Thank you.
It was fantastic.
Anytime.
Guys, come out. Mothership is really, really cool, and we'll see you on our next stop.